Hello and welcome to www.luxurytolast.com. Today we're talking watches, and I want to talk about a very religious subject, which is the Holy Trinity of watches. What exactly is the Holy Trinity? Well, it's not some form of Catholic birth control where you pull out at the last minute. No, the Holy Trinity of watchmaking is the three top big guns in watchmaking. Who are these three people? They're APPPVC, Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, and Vacheron and Constantin. Those are the three big guns in watchmaking. And the level directly underneath that would be, the two players underneath that would be Breguet and Lange. Personally, I would never actually own a Lange piece because my grandfather was actually a POW courtesy of the Nazis. And I still hold that grudge pretty strong there. My grandmother also, she witnessed the Gestapo actually kill her French boyfriend in front of her eyes. So I've kind of got a thing against the Germans there. I mean, I obviously understand the war was a long time ago, but in our family, I really feel that I cannot buy an heirloom piece like a Lange for my children, considering the dark past that things have happened. And I say that affectionately because with watchmakers like Vacheron and Constantin, Audemars, Patek, you have to look at these things and realize they have a long history. And this is the reason why I'm not a big Frank Muller collector. I do love his designs, but I really prefer to stay with the traditions because it has the same values and principles that I hold dear to my heart. So Lange is a fantastic watch. They're a beautiful piece. And look, I'm just being I'm just telling you a very personal secret in my closet there. I've had BMWs, I've had Mercedes Benzes, but they're all disposable type items. A watch is something that's very, very personal, and it's something which can be handed down for hundreds of years. So for me, I take the country of manufacture very, very seriously. Now, not to digress there, so basically the top players are APPPVC, that's the top line. Directly underneath that you've got Lange and Breguet, and directly under that there you'd start to get into brands like IWC, you'd have Jaeger LeCoultre, you'd be looking at top-end luxury brands of that sort of standard. Piaget was another brand that comes to mind. And underneath that level is where you'd have Rolex. So, as you can see, the Holy Trinity is a long way up the ladder from players like Omega or Rolex. The thing about the Holy Trinity is itself, it's just such an amazing three brands. All those three players there have gone through good and bad times. Vacheron's heyday was probably their ultra-thin watches in the 50s and 60s. Vacheron pioneered the ultra-thin type watch, and companies like Audemars has had huge growth, and I'm a very conservative person, and I must say I find a Roux, that's a Audemars Piaget Royal Oak Offshore Chrono, a bit frightening. I find the size too big. I find it's too modern. It's too nouveau riche. It's too lotto winner who was let loose in a casino jewelry store. That's the feeling I have on the offshore, the big Royal Oak Offshore Chronos. I'm much more conservative than that there. Now, that's not to say my choices I make are right. These are just my own personal opinion. As far as Vacheron goes, Vacheron has had a bit of a decline, so that their peak period was sort of 50s, 60s. Long established brand. I mean, Vacheron, Napoleon had a Vacheron. Queen Elizabeth was given a a Vacheron by the Swiss government. It's a magnificent brand. They've got some great models. I must say, their world time that they've got out now is absolutely amazing, and they've reinvigorated the brand. Vacheron's got a fantastic forum. I mean, it's a company led forum, and Alex Gotti's on there, and he's just magnificent. I really think Vacheron is going to have a big. I mean, they're a top player. Never ever forget that Vacheron is a top player. I think they'll become more like a Patek. Patek itself, well, what can you say? Patek, the Sterns are probably the nicest people in the watchmaking industry. Family owned, long history. Nothing's too much trouble for the Sterns. Look, I'm not poor, okay, but I'm not wealthy like some of the Arabs and some of the sheiks and oil people who've inherited oil type stocks and land. But the Sterns are very, very. I actually contacted the Sterns at one stage, and they helped me out. I really cannot say enough for them. I will always have a Patek Philippe in my collection because the Sterns are just family values. The virtues, the principles is everything I stand for, and my leading son will inherit my Patek Philippe. End of story. Audemars Piguet. Wow, what a brand! This is Audemars had a very similar range to Vacheron. In the 50s and 60s, they had thin dress watches. I've got a 1970s Audemars Piguet. The dial's a little bit down, but it's original, so I'd prefer not to repaint it if it's original. Beautiful ultra thin piece. It's probably not as good a piece as my Vacheron Constantin, because it's not a Geneva seal movement, but it's an Audemars Piguet. I mean, it's just reeks of class. 18 karat case, ultra thin. It's a beautiful piece. And what I've tried to do, you can see my 3 dress watches. I've got the Patek Philippe Calatrava Grand Tourly 5107 in white gold. That's a very modern interpretation of a dress watch. I've got my Vacheron and Constantin 6405 in yellow gold with sub-seconds at 6. And that's a very traditional ultra-thin watch. That's the first version of the ultra-thin series released by Vacheron and Constantin, and it features the K1001 movement. It's a Geneva seal movement. The Audemars, well, that fills another gap in my collection of dress watches because it's actually a two-hand ultra-thin model, and I think it's just got each of my dress watches is slightly different, and I just love it. I do adore my Audemars, and I also do own some very nice sports watches. For example, I've actually got a Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, not the offshore chrono. This is actually it's a two-tone piece, which is from the mid-90s, and I think just as a everyday watch, it's got a screw-in crown. I mean, it's the Royal Oak series is a series that really appeals to me because it was actually the series was released the same birth year as myself, which is 1972. So I have a very, very soft spot for the Royal Oak. I must say I'm not terribly impressed with how the Royal Oak has gone. I do understand we live in a commercial world where we've got to do things that customers want, but did it have to get so big? Did it have to go to rubber? There's many things that I feel break some of the virtues of the brand, and I'm being a little bit disappointed, but this is the times we live in. The Holy Trinity itself is a magic set of watches, and I think I encourage any collector who can afford it to buy 3 pieces representing the Holy Trinity brands. I think if you're going to have 3 watches in your collection, why not make them Trinity pieces? And I just can't stress that enough, that the Holy Trinity itself is just such a beautiful thing to behold and to have. I mean, it's kind of like it's like the 3 rings that give Superman his powers. And I mean, having the Holy Trinity in the same spot leads to special situations. Let me explain. I recently I went into Watches of Switzerland, and a very beautiful young lady came up and said to me, "Hello, I know you. You are such and such," and which was strange because I didn't really recognize her, and she was absolutely gorgeous. And anyhow, we had a bit of a chat, and she worked for Langford's, one of the Rolex dealers in the city that I live in. And she said, "Oh, how's your Rolex ensemble going?" And I said to her, I said, "Well," I was probably being a bit facetious. I said, "Oh, my Rolex pieces are mainly for garden use. Let me show you my Holy Trinity," which I happen to have on me because I just shown a friend the Holy Trinity pieces I've got, and she knew the brand straight up, and she felt honoured that I'd actually let her touch my Holy Trinity pieces. And personally, if a beautiful woman wants to touch any possession of mine, I find that a great honour, and that's part of the beauty in owning beautiful things, is that beautiful people want to touch them and see them. And it's nothing can give you, as a man, nothing can give you greater pleasure in life when a lady says, "Can I please have a look at that? Can I have feel it?" And it's just a wonderful situation there. And she was very knowledgeable. She knew the brands, and she really liked them. And I had my royal. I was wearing my royal oak, as well as having the Trinity pieces. And when I was leaving, she said, "Oh, look, I'm very sorry if I startled you by recognizing you." And I just immediately, and this is the powers of having the Trinity, I just immediately replied, "No, it's an absolute honor when a beautiful woman remembers me." That's the power of the Trinity. See, it's like those three rings that Superman has. And it's not about money. Sometimes people, they talk to me. They say, "Oh, you're very materialistic. You're Archie. You're very well-to-do. You wouldn't know what normal life is like." And I mean, this is so false. It's not the case at all. I recently went into Brisbane Vintage Watches. That's a great friend of mine runs Brisbane Vintage Watches, and I've been good friends with them. Actually, I bought my Royal Oak from Brisbane Vintage Watches. I bought it off Ronnie. So that there you go. That's one of the watches that's dearest to my heart. I bought from Brisbane Vintage Watches. And I was talking to one of his watchmakers. He's a Swiss trained tech who's about 33, and he's saying to me, how tough it is for him to buy Holy Trinity type pieces. And I said, "Look, out of these three Trinity pieces, which one do you like?" I'm not talking about which one is the most valuable. I'm saying, which one do you honestly just love for its representation of watchmaking? And he pointed to my Vacheron 6405. And he said to me, "That's just beautiful. The way it's designed, the thinness of it, the just everything about it is beautiful." And this is the thing. It's not about the money. The Vacheron Constantin 6405 is not my most expensive Trinity piece. But it's just got that essence, the essence of beauty. And this is the wonderful thing. It's a bit like a Ferrari collector. Someone comes and says to him, "Look, which is your favourite Ferrari?" And he'd say, "Oh, I like the Lasso, or I like the Daytona, or I like the Dino 246. And he says, "No, actually, I like the 330 Americana, which is a 2+2. Not nowhere near as valuable as the other models, but he likes it because it's a great drive." And this is the thing. It's not about the money. It's about what pieces do you really like and which pieces give you absolute enjoyment. And for me, having the Trinity in my possession gives me great pride, gives me great honour, and I absolutely adore having Trinity pieces. And I mean, look, I've been a great lover of prestige European cars. I've had BMW. I bought a brand new BMW 1 week before I turned 19. I had an Alfa Romeo, which was an absolute disaster. I've had Mercedes Benzes, and I must say this. Now I'm getting older in life. I actually have a beautiful Honda, and is it a luxury car? Is it not a luxury car? I don't give a shit. I love watches, and why would I buy a hideously expensive European car which costs an absolute mozza to service, insure and run, when I can have a beautiful, reliable car and pump money into buying beautiful pieces. And that's what you've got to find in life. What is important to you? And in my Trinity collection, some of these pieces here can be bought for an absolute song. And I think the beauty in a collection is, what do you like and what makes you happy? For me, I'm a very conservative person. I am very traditional in my views. I honestly am a firm believer in long-standing companies and classic iconic models. Look at my dress watches. The sports, I'm not a big fan of sports watches. I do have some sports watches. I've had Rolex sports. I've got a beautiful Rolex Explorer 2, which I love for its 2 time zone feature. The Royal Oak, you could say, well, that's really quite sporty. It's with a screw-in crown, and you could even say my Calatrava is quite sporty with the crown guards and the screw-in crown. But the essence of my collection, I'm a very conservative person, and I find with these dress watches here, they're just an elegant piece. That's probably because I'm in a suit a lot of the time for some of the work I do and some of the charities I'm involved with. And I must say, I love nothing more than a thin dress watch on French double cuffs. And I must say, it gives me great pleasure. One of my watches I really love is I've got a Cartier Panther, which is a quartz piece. And you'd say, oh, it's quartz, it's this, it's that. Well, it's not about the money. It's just a beautiful piece that fits under my French double cuffs, and it's just elegant. It doesn't need to explain itself to anybody. It doesn't need to apologize for being quartz. It is what it is. And it's a bit like me. I mean, I should probably lose a bit of weight myself there. But I am who I am. I've been in business a long time. I've got a lot of life experience. I know a lot about things. I am who I am. And I don't need to make apologies. I don't need to pretend I'm this or that. And that's what I like to see in my collections. It's pieces that really give me pleasure. Thank you for watching this clip here. And don't forget to come to my website, www.luxurytolast.com. I nearly forgot that there. The other site I've run is www.collectinglouisvuitton.com. Thanks very much and have a great day.